Welcome. If you're looking for the best and worst zombie movies and TV shows from 2017, you've come to the right place. This ultimate list covers every zombie film and series released in 2017, from must-watch hits to absolute flops. Get ready for blood, guts, and apocalyptic chaos as we dive into a year filled with the undead. Whether you love fast zombies, slow walkers, or full-scale outbreaks, this list has it all. Let's explore which 2017 zombie productions were worth watching and which were dead on arrival. The Cured. The epidemic has been brought under control. The cure saved thousands of people, but it did not erase their guilt. The formerly infected remember everything, every attack, every victim, every torn piece of flesh. Now they are returning to a society that fears them. People have not forgiven the carnage they unleashed, even if they were not themselves. Protests, attacks, persecution, the world does not want them back. Sinan, one of the cured, is trying to start a new life with his sister-in-law, whose husband was killed during the epidemic. But nightmares do not give him peace. When he meets Connor, the resistance leader of the former infected, he begins to see that not everyone is willing to meekly wait for acceptance. Fear turns into anger, and anger turns into rebellion. Meanwhile, there are disturbing signs. Does the cure really work? Could it be that the virus is still lurking in their minds, waiting for the moment to take over again? Attack of the Southern Fried Zombies. A fog of pesticides hovers over a sleepy Mississippi town, seeping into the soil and into the bodies of those who had no idea that death was already smiling down on them. The experimental chemical that was supposed to eradicate the weeds is waking up something much worse: the dead. First, there are isolated cases, then whole hordes of rampaging zombies whose hunger knows no bounds. Bloody footprints mark the streets, and those who are still breathing have nowhere to hide. The deadly apocalypse plays out to the rhythm of a festival of fried delicacies, and the sizzling oil mingles with the screams of the victims. A provincial inferno engulfs the residents, and the only hope for survival lies with a group of survivors who, armed with machetes and shotguns, must confront what should never have been. The end. A day like any other. Claudio Verona, a confident businessman, rushes to a meeting in an office building in the heart of the city. But before he has time to leave, the world as he knew it turns into hell. People around him begin to behave strangely. Their eyes go blank, their bodies tremble in convulsions, and then they attack. They bite, tear, and rip people alive. The epidemic spreads rapidly, and he is trapped in his own office. The doors are locked. The elevators do not work. The screams in the corridors quiet down one by one, replaced by something much worse: deafening, protracted whimpers. The infected are everywhere. Any mistake can cost him his life. Once a successful man, he must now become a beast if he wants to survive. But how long can he fight when death lurks behind every door, and his only hope is that no one will find him here? Breakdown Lane. A lonely road in the middle of nowhere. All around is sun, dust, and a silence that foreshadows something ominous. When Kirby Lane's car breaks down in the middle of the desert, she thinks it is just a temporary inconvenience. She does not yet know that she has just been trapped in a place where death lurks at every turn. The world has descended into chaos. Hordes of zombies roam the desiccated land, hunting down anything that still breathes. Every second is a fight for life. Every sound can bring something down on her that she will not be able to stop. Alone, with no hope of rescue, she must find a way to survive in this dying world. But monsters are not only those who are already dead. In a world where rules no longer exist, true evil often has a human face. One Cut of the Dead. A film crew is shooting a low-budget zombie horror movie in an abandoned building when suddenly something starts to go wrong. Very wrong. A real outbreak of the undead breaks out on the set, and the director, a fanatical perfectionist, is not about to stop shooting. Cameras continue to record. Screams are mixed with genuine horror, and blood that was supposed to be artificial turns out to be painfully real. Chaos grows. The line between film and reality blurs. Those who were only supposed to fake death are now fighting for their lives. Just when you think you have figured out the story, it suddenly turns everything upside down, leaving you with the feeling that nothing is as it seems. Ravenous. The Canadian forests have become a silent witness to the end of the world. Among the abandoned houses and quiet roads, the last survivors fight not only hunger and fatigue, but most of all, what lurks in the darkness. These are no ordinary zombies. They are fast, instinctive, as if they understand more than they should. They erect strange constructions of objects, piles of chairs, dolls, toys, as if they were making a sacrifice to something beyond human comprehension. Every step into the woods is playing with the thin line between life and death. The small group of survivors, a hunter, a woman with a child, a man who has lost everything, have no destination, only the hope that somewhere there is still a safe place. But each night, the world seems to become stranger and stranger. One does not know what is worse, the hungry creatures lurking in the shadows or the slow loss of humanity. Because in this world, hunger is not just a feeling, it is destiny. Trench 11. Deep underground in the darkness of forgotten tunnels lies a nightmare that should never see the light of day. At the end of World War I, a group of soldiers is sent to investigate an abandoned German military complex. As they enter the claustrophobic corridors, they quickly realize that this is no ordinary base. It is a laboratory where the Nazis experimented on humans. Something is alive here. Something that is no longer human. The walls are soaked in blood. The air is filled with the frantic whispering of those who have been infected. As the body is transformed, reason is gone. Only the rush of death remains. Soldiers must fight not only the enemy, but also something much worse, a disease that transforms people into living instruments of destruction. Every step could be the last, and the tunnels are endless. Escape? It is just an illusion. Anna and the Apocalypse. Christmas was supposed to be a time of joy, lights and carols. Instead, the city of Little Haven descends into chaos. An epidemic of a mysterious virus is turning people into bloodthirsty zombies, and the streets into a death trap. In this hell of the living dead, Anna and her friends must fight for survival, armed only with school props and a little hope. But there is no escape from this nightmare. With each passing moment, the city becomes a tomb, and Christmas music mixes with the screams of the victims being torn apart. Every step may be the last. Every smile hides fear. And the worst is yet to come. Because there are no happy endings in the zombie apocalypse, even if someone starts singing. Santa Clarita Diet. At first glance, it's a perfect suburb sunshine, manicured lawns, and neighbors who always say, "Good morning." But in one of the houses, something has changed. Sheila, a wife and mother, suddenly dies and comes back to life. She doesn't feel pain, she doesn't age, and her body works differently from ordinary people. She soon discovers that the only thing that can satiate her is human meat. The hunger grows stronger, and her husband Joel and daughter Abby have to come to terms with a terrifying truth. If they want to keep the family together, they will have to get fresh victims for her. Daily life turns into a bloody struggle for survival, hiding corpses and avoiding the suspicions of neighbors. And that's just the beginning, because as time goes on, Sheila becomes hungrier and less human. Fear the Walking Dead, Season 3. The line between life and death is getting thinner and thinner. In a world plunged into chaos, where hope dies faster than people, the surviving handful fights not only against hordes of undead, but also against the worst in humans. In the third season, the brutal struggle for survival begins as the Clark family finds itself in an area overrun by ruthless survivors. A bloody war for power, betrayals, and decisions that can destroy the remnants of humanity. This is everyday life in this terrifying new order. Can anyone be trusted when every new alliance could turn out to be a deadly trap? The past returns, forcing the characters to do deeds they would never suspect. The boundaries of morality are blurring, and the world they live in no longer has room for mercy. Z Nation Season 4. A world plunged into chaos, where death is not the end, but only the beginning of a real nightmare. After years of fighting the hordes of the living dead, the survivors thought they could find refuge. But this is only an illusion. Murphy, a man immune to the virus, is still the key to saving humanity, but his blood attracts new threats, smarter, faster, deadlier. In this season, the heroes are separated, and their paths lead through abandoned laboratories, mysterious experiments, and terrifying discoveries about the nature of the virus. What is Zona really? A utopia or a trap with no way out? In this world, any alliance can turn out to be a betrayal, and hope is only a shadow among the bloody ruins. Dead Shack. A family trip to a cut-off cabin was supposed to be a chance to relax. 3 teenagers, Jason, Colin, and Summer, did not expect the weekend to turn into a fight for life. The neighborhood is home to a woman who hides a monstrous secret. She is not alone. In the basement, she keeps something inhuman, hungry, rotting, obeying her every command. They are her family, zombies, fed with the unfortunate who dare to approach. When the kids accidentally discover her dark secret, a brutal game begins. They must survive. She won't let them go. Dark forest, dried blood, and shadows flitting between the trees. Here, no one can hear the screams. Mayhem. In an instant, the whole world turns into a bloody battlefield where all rules no longer apply. The office building of a powerful corporation is quarantined after a deadly virus is detected. But this is no ordinary disease. This virus unleashes the most deeply hidden instincts, turning people into bloodthirsty, unstoppable beasts. Amid the chaos, a company employee who has just lost his job sees a chance for brutal revenge. With each passing minute, the corridors are drowning in blood, and the fight for survival turns into a frantic dance of death. There is no room for mercy, no rules, only pure primal bloodlust. And when everyone can murder with impunity, who will make it to the end? Cargo. The Australian wilderness stretches endlessly, bathed in dead sunlight. A man wanders through it with an infant in his arms, and a band is clamped on his wrist, a death sentence. He has exactly 48 hours before he ceases to be himself, before he joins those who no longer think, no longer feel, only hunt. In a world where humanity has fallen victim to a mysterious plague, every day is a desperate struggle for survival. He is no longer fighting for himself. His only goal is to find someone to save his daughter before he himself becomes a threat. The body is weakening, the mind is sinking into darkness, and monsters are lurking all around, not just the ones the plague has awakened. Time is running out, and the world has no mercy. iZombie Season 3. Seattle is slowly descending into chaos. Tension between humans and zombies is growing, and the thin line between the two worlds is beginning to crack. Liv Moore, who has long since lost her former life, now fights every day against hunger and the dark visions that follow every brain she eats. Each new memory leads her deeper into a web of intrigue, betrayal, and secrets she shouldn't know. Meanwhile, the mysterious Fillmore Graves organization is building an army, preparing for the moment when people discover the truth. With every moment, the inevitable confrontation approaches. The city will become a battlefield, and Liv must decide which side she wants to fight on. When loyalty becomes just a word, and survival requires sacrifices, one thing is certain: the worst is yet to come. And that's a wrap on every zombie movie and TV show from 2017. Some films delivered terrifying horror while others were absolute disasters. Which ones did you enjoy the most? Let us know in the comments. Whether you prefer fast zombies, survival horror, or gore-filled action, 2017 had something for every Undead fan. Subscribe for more horror breakdowns, movie lists, and apocalyptic rankings, and don't forget to like the video.